Welcome to my channel. On these last days of summer, I decided to make a summary of my best colored works. The choice was difficult because I'm quite satisfied with my summer results. There were simple works which helped me just to relax, but there were also interesting works where I used art supplies which I don't use frequently, or where I learned something new, where I improved my skills. And the first in this list of my favorite pictures will be this picture by Sicily Mary Baker. These pictures I usually color on toned paper. For me it's another challenge because many of my favorite Prismacolor pencils, they behave slightly differently on this toned paper. You need to use different technique of blending. You also have to think about balance of light and dark colors. So why I selected this one? It's lovely, but also this picture taught me to be patient. Usually when I color Sicily Mary Baker pictures, I also use her own works. Obviously they were created with watercolor, but still I use them as an inspiration. And you know, if I would color it by myself, I would probably do like white wings, orange flower, and yeah, it will be vibrant and okay. But when I looked at her reference picture, I noticed many tiny details which make her painting much more interesting, like this slightly brownish accents on the leaves, sometimes even cream or orange. How many color accents she created on the background to add depth. Maybe it looks simple, but it has a little bit of blue, a little bit of gray, also shades of green blended together, brown colors. So it definitely helped me to be more patient, to think more carefully, and to experiment a little bit with additional color accents. I hope that this experience, when I analyzed original picture and tried to use it for my own work, it also will help me for my future colorings in Crystal Vogel botanical books or in Leila Dewley books. The next one, it's also a picture with flowers. Sorry, where is my bookmark? This one. And that's picture with sunflowers. Picture on the left is also good, but well, I'm offended by this one because I had problems with my camera. I had difficulty with video recording, so this one is my favorite among the two. Here I didn't have any problems. I just had to be patient again, because I quite quickly did sunflowers. It was a pleasure, a lot of my favorite colors. I also enjoyed doing the jar, lovely cobalt colors, they look very nice together with green and yellow. Then there was question of background, and honestly I remembered about one watercolor painting, then it was turned into cross-stitch pattern, and that's where I saw it for the first time as a cross-stitch project. And there were similar picture where background was grayish blue, grayish green colors blended with a little bit of cream. I decided to implement it, to use it for my page, and I think that it worked quite well. If you own Japanese symphony, you know that it's not very easy to do the whole background with pencils, even with Prismacolors. It's not as easy as you can do it in Rhapsody or Minuet, but I still managed to do it. Usually the pencil background, it's a nightmare for me, but here I did it and I'm proud of myself and I'm very happy with the result. So it definitely goes into my list. The next one I included not because of, but despite all the problems which I had here Despite my very limited experience of using gouache paint, some problems with masking lines and a lack of good blending on this paper, I think that in the end it really shows the spirit of summer, exactly the summer vibe which I wanted to show, and I'm proud that I finally did something apart from traditional blue sky. Here we have probably evening, so colors for the sky are unusual, but they complement quite well colors of the turquoise water, colors of the sand. So definitely it's one of my best works. Sometimes I include my works in this list because they were easy, they were enjoyable, I enjoyed every moment. Here no, it was a struggle, but what is the most important is in the end I felt like a winner. Like I mastered a little bit gouache paints and I managed to use them to get exactly the view which I imagined for this page. The same thing with the next page. I struggled many times to do realistic water in Teresa Goodrich books, and sometimes waves didn't look quite realistic. Sometimes colors were unnatural for real water, for river or for sea, for the ocean, and finally I did it. Here I love everything. How waves look near the seashore, how water looks more in the depths, how here we have this gradient from more greenish into dark blue shades for water. So finally I grabbed this in the hope that for my future pictures in Teresa Goodrich, water finally will look better, because again there are many pictures where I love the whole picture but water ruins the whole look. And you know that she loves to add rivers, ponds, sea to her pictures, so I have a lot of them and I needed to learn how to do water with pencils properly. So proud of this one. The next, well, it's 50-50. I included it maybe as a reminder for myself that it's a shame that I used books by Carazan recently, not very often. Usually when I start to color them, I need a lot of thinking about colors, but in the end everything usually works quite well. I love all my works in Kirby, so I don't color frequently, but I love the results. The reason why I thought that it's 50-50 because I think that the background, well, it's not the best. I think that I saw somewhere similar page and I decided to use similar background, and I simply didn't have enough skills to do this kind of background. For me, clouds always are very difficult. I'm just glad that it didn't ruin the whole page. The hippo I really love. I already told the story that I follow zoo where there is a family of hippos, so I have a lot of pictures as an inspiration. I just opened it. I think that it's Cincinnati or something like this, and family is really lovely and they have nice pictures where you can see right shades for the skin, shades for the head, for the mouth, all these textures near the nose, on the body, so it was easy to color. And yes, in this book I mostly color with pencils, so I'm also happy that I did here water with pencils and it looks nice. But well, this part I love, the background it's so-so. Next time I don't need to copy, I need to be more original, so maybe it's the key to success. Okay, we are moving to the two pictures which I simply love without any particular reasons, and for both pictures it was easy coloring. I didn't have any problems with color choices, with doing textures. The first one is this art supplies. The left side was more complicated, because every time when I do Aries picture, I struggle how to turn her, let's call it simplified style, into something more three-dimensional. So each time I think, do I need to cover lines? Do I need to work more on textures? So there were a lot of doubts. This one, I simply enjoyed every moment, and I even had a lot of fun imagining all those magical properties of magical art supplies for the young witch. So I felt myself like a little bit inside of this story. Like, imagine what you can paint with this paint made with unicorn hair, or with scales from Mermaid's Tale, or other interesting paints. I wouldn't mind to have such interesting magical paints. So definitely this one was good, and I love to work on this paper. And the last one, the only work which belongs to August, but at least one, it's also a good result. So the hair. I included it not because of the botanical composition around. Actually, when I started to do it, as usual, I started with the background, the most boring and challenging part, and on some stage I thought that, oh no, you blended it so ugly you could ruin the whole page. Fortunately, paper is good, so you can apply many layers and to correct your own imperfections. But when I added flowers, and especially after I added the hair, I just don't know how to pronounce him correctly. I tend to call him Jack Rabbit, it's easier for me. Anyway, when I colored the animal, I think that page started to look much better. And again, it was another skill for me, how to do this shading on the light fur, and how to do multi-colorful fur. You know that sometimes on rabbits, hair, cats, we have fur as a mix of brown and gray, or orange and gray, and sometimes I struggle to do it. Sometimes I start from the lightest colors, and on many papers when I need to apply darker colors, paper already feels quite burnished and you can't add enough of the dark colors. But this time I think that everything worked quite well. Of course, I used the reference pictures. They always are helpful to find some small details, like unusual color for not unusual but particular colors for the parts of the head where we have almost white, where more yellowish fur, direction of the fur grows, interesting color of the almost transparent ear. So reference pictures helped me, but I also combined darker and harder pencils to achieve this effect. I think that it was one of the best animals which I colored so far. So it was a nice addition to my summer collection. Thank you for watching, and I hope that in autumn I also will be able to do something decent. Of course, autumn is mostly dedicated to witches, colorful leaves, pumpkins, but I think that I will continue to color flowers, various botanical illustrations. I really want to do tropical flowers, so I hope that the summary of autumn also will be interesting. And thank you for watching summary of summer works.